Here, self-employed workers who are eligible for government support during the COVID crisis can apply for a second final round of grants from today. More than 3 million people are eligible, but many self-employed people are concerned that they will be left out again. Well, let's speak to Steve McNamara, who's the General Secretary of the Licensed Taxi Drivers Association. And Steve, just how important has this government help been?
Yeah, it's particularly the help given from the Chancellor in March and being renewed, the last application today. It's been absolutely crucial just to the survival of some of our members and taxi drivers across the country. Nobody's moving in London, as you know. There's no work, there's no income whatsoever. And without this help, many families would have just simply gone without. It's absolutely essential that he did it, and we're so pleased that it was done.
The Chancellor says this will be the final payout. Is there any evidence on the streets that things are beginning to improve, get back to some sort of normality?
No, there's not, and this is the great concern we have at the moment. Whilst the Chancellor has said it will be the last payout, which obviously would run until October, the reality is that at the moment, anywhere on the streets of, certainly of London and many of the big metropolitan cities, there's nobody anywhere. No one has gone back to work. The civil servants are not back to work in Whitehall. There's nobody back to work in the City of London, or very, very few people. Plus, we've got the added concern of the road closures, and many roads are being closed and restricted, which makes us less attractive as a transport option for many people. It's a big, big concern to us, the biggest concern being that no one's back at work.
And yet, anecdotally, Steve, many people are still very concerned about travelling on the tube or on crowded buses. Is there not evidence that taxis are getting some sort of benefit from that?
Well, certainly not at the moment, because there's not enough people moving around. There is just not, the volume is just not there. Even the few people on the tubes are empty. But the reality is, as and when people do come back to work, we certainly expect to come out of it quite well. We drive the only vehicle that's designed to isolate people. You know, we've got a partition screen, you sit 2 metres from the driver, it's built out of hard plastics that are easy to clean. So hopefully we'll be in an ideal position to take up the slack in the public transport system. But at the moment, there just is no slack because, as I say, there's just nobody anywhere.
Those taxes are not cheap. Are many drivers simply giving up?
It's very, very difficult to know what's happening at the moment. As you're aware, in London, we've been transitioning to electric vehicles from our old diesel vehicles. We were transitioning at the rate of £3 million a week. That's how many we were buying. We were buying 50 of these vehicles a week. They average about £60,000 to buy. Our members were invested in them in record numbers pre-COVID. The irony for us is that we'd had a hard few years with all the reasons that you would know with apps and stuff, but we'd seen a renaissance at the beginning of this year and the end of last year, with many of our customers returning to us. We'd seen a younger demographics choosing to use taxis in London, using these new electric cabs. People love them, the contactless payments. We were doing so well. And like many, the COVID has just completely, kicked our legs out from under us. And without the help, and possibly going forward, if things don't pick up in September and October, and we're concerned they won't, we're going to be in dire straits again. So I will obviously be contacting the Chancellor again and asking him what he's doing. But at the moment, we're going to wait and see what happens.
And you're giving yourself, what, the end of October?
We're hoping that the plan is, if there is a plan, is that when the schools go back in September, presuming the schools go back, the last we heard they were, that more people will return to work. We think there's a growing recognition amongst people that are working at home that, out of sight is out of mind. And when the redundancies come, and they will be coming, as we know, the people that are not in the office are going to be the ones who are going to be picked off. Equally, we're aware that many people working at home are beginning to recognise that some employers will seek to find cheaper alternative labour elsewhere, in the world. If you can work from home from Sevenoaks or from Epping, you can equally do the job from somewhere in India or in the Philippines. And obviously I think people are recognising that they're going to have to get back in the office at some time, and we're hoping it's going to be around September time.
Steve, good to talk to you. Steve McNamara, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.